Well, up next, we're chatting to a bloke who thinks Trump's conviction is not only a gross miscarriage of justice and Trump derangement syndrome has gone nuts, he thinks that, ironically, the guilty conviction will help the former president get back into the White House. Joining us now is YouTuber and founder of Based Politics, Brad Polumbo. Brad, welcome. People in the US have had a week to digest the Trump verdict. What's the mood in the country?
Well, it's a really split mood because this verdict has split the country right into two. People either love it or they hate it, and frankly, it has a lot to do with how they personally feel about Trump. But my take on it is simply that it really shouldn't matter whether you love or hate the man. It's a perversity. It's an injustice. What we've had here is an activist, openly partisan prosecutor go after the former president on something that's arguably not even really a crime and is at most a bookkeeping offense and misdemeanor. Turn it into multiple felonies through legal and mental gymnastics that I've even seen many legal commentators acknowledge wouldn't be prosecuted in almost any other case. And no precedent should be above the law, of course, in America, but they're also not supposed to be below it. So I find this really concerning and yet more evidence of lawfare taking over our legal system.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the term gymnastics. I think that's a perfect way to describe it. Now, Brad, what's your take on the Hunter Biden trials? We know that 8 in 10 Americans think the suppressed and censored Biden laptop cover-up changed the result of the election in 2020. But what's your sense on the ramifications of what's happening now?
Well, of course, now as part of the trial, they've had to admit that the laptop was real after all. So that's a pretty big win for all the people who pointed out that it was real and was important all along. But more importantly, I mean, look, they've got Hunter Biden dead to rights. He admitted in his memoir that he was using drugs at the same time that he signed a federal form to purchase a firearm saying, no, I don't use drugs. You can't do that. That is a crime. Now, that it is a crime that often doesn't get prosecuted. He faces up to 25 years in prison potentially, which I do think would be excessive, though he probably won't get that. But you have to say, you can't publicly flout the law, obviously and blatantly, and then be shocked when you end up being held accountable for it. When you play stupid games, you do often win stupid prizes. And that's what Hunter Biden has done all his life, and the chickens are finally coming home to roost.
Brad, just do a hypothetical with me. What happens if Hunter Biden avoids jail, but Trump is imprisoned?
Well, it could happen, but I actually think that what would happen then is, I think if Trump is imprisoned, he'll definitely win the election. I just think it will help him. They don't understand what they're doing. They think they're taking down Trump, but they're making him stronger than ever. When I speak to Trump supporters, a lot of them were waffling on him after he left office because of, the election stuff where he really went overboard in a lot of people's minds, because of how he handled the COVID pandemic. But when the Democrats have gone after him so militantly with the legal system, including some really bogus cases like this one in Manhattan, it solidified his support with so many Republicans and Trump voters who maybe were ready to move on. No, it's had a rally around the flag effect, and they are backing their guy more than ever. And elections often come down to turnout in the U.S., so it's really about who shows up, and they're going to show up for their man because they feel he's under attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Brad, a win against woke identity politics. Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Sciences will no longer require diversity statements in the hiring process. Tell us about that.
Well, this is a big win for free speech because what you've had is essentially these ideological litmus tests at college campuses where you must sign along to the DEI agenda, which isn't just, opposing racism, which of course every good person does, but is embracing a whole host of left-wing views on race and affirmative action and all these things that people don't necessarily support. So it's good because when you have one official dogma that you must attest to in order to be given a position at one of these universities, well, that makes people who don't have that view stigmatized and forced to censor themselves. So when even places like Harvard, and we've seen other colleges like MIT and Syracuse, when even they are starting to roll back of some of this stuff, to me that shows really changing tides with the woke agenda.
Brad, we've only got about 20 seconds left, but you said a changing tide. How serious are you about this? Do you think things really are starting to turn?
I do. I mean, look, even on my social media feeds, I'm seeing people who lean left make jokes about the blue-haired, non-binary, they-thems with the bull nose horn, nose piercing. Like, the tide is changing in America. People are sick of the over-the-top woke stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not surprised either. Brad Polumbo, always good to have you on. Thank you.